Welcome back. Today we're going to start this video off with the valve cover gasket. You can see here I am loosening these nuts for the throttle cables. There's two of them. It was a slight struggle because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but just kind of, watch where everything's getting taken apart to make sure you're going to put it back together right. But loosen those, take them off, and that's about it. After dealing with those throttle cables, I'm just going to come over here to the throttle body side of the intake manifold and crack these nuts loose. It's a stud with a nut that goes through the little ear down into the throttle body. So you're going to want to crack the nut loose and then also crack the stud loose separately. You'll see me do that in a little bit. After removing the loose items, such as the nuts and the cables, you're going to see these blue pliers over on the left side. You got to use those to compress the clamp around the coupler that connects the turbo to the intake. manifold, if you will, and then you're just going to pull her on out, basically. Just, be aware of your surroundings and such, not to damage anything. Now I am removing the throttle body itself. It was a bit of a bugger to get out. There's a lot of wires attached to it. But this isn't completely necessary for doing the valve cover gasket, but I figured I would replace the throttle body gaskets while I was in here. So I'm going to take it out, give it a nice clean, because there's a lot of buildup, and then we'll throw it back in there when we're reinstalling everything. Finally, I can start to crack loose these nuts. Maybe I should say bolts, because that's what they are. Two of these are nuts, and the rest of them are bolts. Most of these were actually pretty loose, like this one you can see me unscrewing here, so that definitely could be the cause of the leaking gasket. They don't have a high torque spec, but definitely higher than what they were when I took this apart, so I'll definitely be tightening it back up. This little half moon piece here goes at the back of the valve cover, and what you're going to want to do is remove that. It was a bit of a sucker to get out, but you know, it's got to be done. Like I said, remove it and clean the surface, and then apply a fresh layer of sealant to the bottom of it, and then you're going to excuse me, put it back in as you see me doing here, even though it's difficult to see. Make sure it's flat enough, and then if you're all set to go, you can just slap that valve cover back on with the new gasket. Tighten it back up now. I don't remember the exact torque specification, but it is, I believe, around 8 Newton meters. Don't quote me on that, but you can definitely look it up for yourself to see. I was advised to be careful to not over torque these bolts because it is a potential problem to snap off the ears on the plastic valve cover. So just be aware, do your research, find the correct torque spec, and you should be perfect. And my light just went out. Alright, task number 2. We're going to be replacing the fuel filter. Just one of those preventative measures that I sort of like to take care of with my new-to-me vehicles. So I'm just going to take these nuts off here so I can get that bad boy loose and take her on out. On the bench here, we are going to remove this plastic piece on the bottom here. This wire, I believe, is for heating up the fuel in the filter, which I thought was pretty interesting. And before I did this, I made sure to drain all the fuel out of it with that little wing that you can see there, just so it makes it a little easier. And then you're golden. Taking this O-ring off, I'm going to want to make sure to swap that for the new one you see here. I'm going to put a light coating of grease slash diesel fuel on there for lubrication. That must be a little float sensor. And then we're going to grab the old filter, spill a bunch of fuel on the bench, you know, it's got to happen. Clean it up best I can with some paper towels, as such. And I believe the directions for reinstallation are to take the new filter, screw it on, and then once the gasket part makes contact with the metal on the housing, turn it another 3/4 of a turn, so another 75% of a turn, and then you'll know that she's on there good and tight. I would advise against using a tool for this because sometimes those suckers can get real stuck. I'm going to pre-fill this before reinstallation. Tightening these bolts down now, almost done with the install. This little black puck on the top is a manual pump for priming the fuel system. You're going to want to press that thing repeatedly until it becomes hard to depress. And that is basically priming the fuel system so that it's ready to pump into the injectors. Diesels don't like to run dry. They use that fuel as a sort of lubricant. So you're going to want to make sure to press that thing until it is firm, and you should be good to go. That's about all. See you later.